Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is Imor, one of your hosts for today. I'm an academic, a business consultant, a best-selling author of multiple books in self-help, and a MyPad honoree under the business and entrepreneurship space in the class of 2023.
And this is your co host, Jonathan, executive at MyPad, the most influential people of African descent.
And you're listening to the Voices of Influential People podcast, or as we like to call it, the VIP, a show powered by MyPad and connecting you to the most influential people of African descent. Today's episode is titled Championing Human Rights for the Marginalized, and we're excited to have as our special guest Samantha Sibanda, who is a human rights advocate and who's currently the founder of Appreciate Africa Network. This is an organization dedicated to promoting and protecting the rights of people of African descent in China as well as across Asia. Samantha is also actively involved in the media as a speaker as well as a TV personality. Samantha, a big welcome to you and thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Timo and Jonathan. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. Doing well.
Awesome, thank you so much. So as you know, Samantha, we're a global podcast, and right now I'm joining you from the Midlands in the UK.
And I'm calling in from London today.
And we know you're always on the move, Samantha, covering different geographies across the globe. So tell us, what part of the globe are you joining us in from today?
Today I'm in Guangzhou, China, where I am actually based.
Oh, look at that. You're truly a globetrotter. Now, I would also like to kick off the show, Samantha, with some fun questions. Could you tell us about your favorite film and why?
My favorite film, um, let's see. That's a hard one. Well, I love watching, or I used to love watching Bruce Willis. So I'd say all the Die Hard series of Bruce Willis. I love it. Why? Just the action part of it, the storyline. I'm into action, by the way. So yeah, I love Bruce Willis Die Hard.
That's quite interesting to know. All right, so let's get on to other parts of the show and other questions. Now, Samantha, your story is completely an inspiration, super inspiring. Not just to me, not just to Jonathan, but to many people. So let's start from the beginning. Could you take us back to your roots in Zimbabwe and tell us what initially sparked up your passion for culture and also education?
Very interesting. It's going to be a long one, but I'll try to really cut it short. I grew up in a family of nine, and being the only girl, eight boys. So, back then also in Zimbabwe, I would say patriarchal society where a girl child, is not given the other, you know, chances as same as the boys. So I grew up in an environment, in a society where I watched male children being given, all the love, all the support to do whatever they want. And then for the girl children, we grew up like, being groomed for marriage and nothing else. So this for me was something that started to worry me to say, I think I can do better than what my society thinks I can do. I can do better than what my family thinks I can do. And I really wanted to find out, like, how can I actually push that barrier and get out there to become somebody else. So it started from there. So that fire of like, I wanted to say, I can also do the same as what men can do, what boys can do, and I wanted that chance. And that really gave me that fire that I had and that I still have up until now.
Well, that's really inspirational. Thank you so much for sharing. Now look at your journey. Throughout that remarkable journey, your remarkable journey, you've become a beacon for African culture and also empowerment. We're looking at that at home in Zimbabwe, or you're looking at that in the diaspora. Could you share a story about, you know, a project or or an initiative of yours that you've led, and how you feel that that has made a significant impact in connecting and uplifting the African community, especially abroad?
Yeah, I would say that when I came into China first, I came in as a student, and I was doing my MBA and getting into the classroom, I was the only black and only African who was there. And when I walked in, the first thing that people started saying was to question if I could afford being there and why I was there. So it really sort of like started to worry me. You know, when you're back home, you get to hear all these stories about, racial discrimination or stereotypes that people have, but it had never really clicked in, because I'd never seen it or just hear it. So when I went into that particular class, I'll tell you, we had a class of cultural intelligence, and the lecturer came to us and said, "You know what? I want you all to write stereotypes that you have of each other's countries." So people started writing, and we're 25 of us in that MBA class. And then, she asked us to read loud. Now, I was from Zimbabwe, so I was listening to what everyone was saying about where I was coming from. No one said anything positive. It was poor, uneducated, AIDS, things like that. And they were not even talking about Zimbabwe. It was like more like Africa to them. It was just Africa. So I noticed that everyone had negative, no one said anything positive. And it made me want to try and educate people about where I come from, because I noticed that they really didn't understand where I was from. So during that MBA, like when you're a student, you do a capstone and stuff. So I decided to change the capstone that I was doing to actually focus on making my capstone educate people about Africa. So I went and I spoke to my supervisor. I'm like, I know this is not business wise, but this is something that I want to do. So they said, as long as I follow what was required. So that's where Appreciate Africa Network was born, because I noticed that there were so many stereotypes that people have about Africa and Africans. Appreciate Africa Network, when I started it, I was in university, and it was more to promote Africa. But then it became the first organization in China that was doing that. Now it started bringing in Africans, thinking that, you know what, there is this black organization, this is where we can get help. So that's where the shift then also became. For me to try and now assist their problems and listening to their problems. So with Africans who were having visa problems, who were not, maybe their employers treating them badly and things like that. So it became that organization that Africans saw as a place to go to. So we started now doing human rights, involving human rights. But initially when we started, it was more like to promote Africa in China.
Okay. And what would you say the impact has been over the time that you started it to where you are now?
I'll be honest with you. I think the Chinese government has really changed a lot. I've seen a shift from when we started and now post COVID era. I've seen a shift that they are now opening up to us. Especially here in Guangzhou, I see that they're also doing capacity building with different African community leaders to try and make sure that they understand the laws of China, what they expect from us, because they used to have that. There was no synergy. We just living. There was China, there was Africans, and we didn't understand each other. So I see now they're really putting an effort as compared to when we started.
This is really phenomenal. What I see right now, Samantha, is you are an ambassador. You're an African ambassador. Again, not just Zimbabwe, but you're literally an African ambassador sitting right there, in Asia, core Asia, obviously in China, and you've been able to change the narrative, to a very large extent. So the question is, what are you doing to be able to scale that up? In other words, have that narrative change in a much more regional perspective? Because truth be told, what you perceived in your MBA class is still going on. So how can you, as one that's really walked in and you're wearing the shoes, how can you ensure that that narrative is really, really changed across?
Yeah, so in Asia Pacific, this is what I've been doing because one of the things, like I said, that I noticed is they don't know who we are or what we do. When they see us, they see maybe drug dealers. They see us as people who didn't go to school. So I started what is called Pride of Africa Asia Pacific Awards to really showcase Africans. And before, also in China, the Africans that you'll see were entertainers. Those are the Africans that you see just dancing. You'll not see Africans who are scientists. You'll not see any African being written or being interviewed. So, what I did is with Pride of Africa, Asia Pacific, I said I really want to showcase my people. They will know us, they will know what we do and where we are. So we started this program. I do it every year, and we do really pull out each and every African that is here in China and in Asia Pacific, and we put out there for people to see that, you know what, we have African doctors, we have African, because they were thinking of African entertainers only. They see us as people who dance and sing and nothing else. So trying to show them that, look, we've got innovators, we've got the scientists and stuff, and putting our people there and making stories about, just like what you're doing now. This is what I do in China, to really put our people there so that people would give us that respect to say, oh, you know what, Africans are doing this. Because we do have Africans who own massive businesses here, but nobody talks about them. They only think of us as those people, maybe traders who come and buy clothes for resale back home. But that's not it. So, what I've seen is I've seen that respect of African growing because now they can see that, hey, these people are more than what we thought they are and stuff. So yeah, this is what we've been doing, and that's the impact that we've had. And also, I mean, I don't know if you know, in 2017 there was an exhibition here in China in Wuhan that showcased Africans as animals. I don't know if you saw that. They put pictures of Africans and then with an animal, and they say this is Africa. So I personally did a petition for that, and that exhibition was stopped.
Wow. This is, I had no clue about this. We get to learn every day. But kudos to you on this phenomenal work you're doing, Samantha. Thank you so much. And that leads me to the other part. Now, you've mentioned quite a number of things you're doing, and one of the tools out of that would be the Pride of Africa Asia Pacific Awards, which is one of the vessels through which you're able to correct the narrative, and change the mindset of people regarding Africans. However, it'll be good to know if there are other things that you're doing within this sphere as well, especially as they are unfolding, and how we can get the MyPad community to then become a part of this, because the MyPad community is global, as you know, and so this will be a great synergy. So, what are those things that you're doing right now, or that you will do that can actually integrate with what we're having in MyPad as a community?
Right. So I do events. The thing that I saw that how I can change narratives is by doing events. I do events, I do workshops, I do seminars, and all these are actually based on changing the mindset of people. So some of them are human rights related. I'll give you one that I actually do on with companies based here in China. Actually teaching them the power of diversity, because some of them they feel like taking us and stuff. So, doing that, like, what is racial discrimination, and trying to have them understand it. So, I do workshops as well. I do training. I get into corporates, especially Chinese companies, and also how they can work with us as Africans. And the other project that I'm working on right now, that I'm trying to have the Minister of Foreign Affairs here in China approve or work with me on, is we've got people coming in from Africa. They don't know anything. And now with the social media, when we take pictures, people think diaspora is easy, and everyone think I can buy a ticket and I'll make a life in China. So I've noticed that most of our people are coming here with no information whatsoever of how it is like, and they are not getting proper paperwork. They are not getting insurances, like we've got people who are living in the streets. So I'm trying to work with the Chinese immigration and embassies to say that if we can have an induction course of Africans coming to stay in China, be it 2 weeks, just to tell them about life in China, the do's and don'ts, because some of them, they come in here, they quickly think, oh, if I can't renew my visa, I can take asylum, right? But then they don't know, like, the repercussions later on. They don't know. It's because maybe someone said you can do this. They just do this. So there's that lack of knowledge. And I'm trying to see if we can, because I'm in education as well, if we can educate our people and come together with the Chinese government to say, okay, from the China side, this is what you want. And then from our side, this is what we're looking for. How can we have our people who are coming in take that course? So I'm trying to put together a course, induction course for everyone who wants to stay in China.
So you've had, when it comes to education and trying to increase the knowledge of people of African descent as well as Chinese people, natives, about people of African descent, you've already achieved so much. And what I want to understand is, what does support look like for you in what you're doing? You said that you try to change what the narrative looks like with people coming into China. What does support look like for you to achieve your goals?
The issue of support is something that has been so hard. I've been doing this since 2013, but using my personal finances. It's been hard to get sponsorship. It's been hard to get, people who support you. Uh, so yeah, it's all based on me and stuff. So sometimes it's really hard, but I don't want to stop, because I feel like I'm not doing this for money or to please people, but it's something that I say that it has to happen. I haven't seen it happening. There are times that I get angry and rant on social media, like, we're not being supported, we're not being seen. But at the same time, I don't stop. I just continue with or without the support. So by support, I mean, even getting people, connecting you to those companies, connecting you to the people who influence policies, people who maybe who can support. Like, it can be time, it can be, like, now we're saying we want to train people, right? It can be just expertise and stuff, just people coming together to say, hey, let's put our hands together, and if this is a course that we have to do, I can chip in here, and this is how we can do it. So that's the support that I need. But financially, it's been really, really hard.
And I admire what you do, because it's always going to be steps in the right direction, and it's a progressive evolution. Our aim is to leave it better than we found it, but it's always going to be a progression. And so we can't change everything overnight. And your resolve and your dedication to the cause is something to be admired for sure. And time does really fly. We're approaching the end of the conversation already. And I thank you for gracing us with your presence, Samantha. But can you tell us, is there anything that you wanted to share with our MyPad community and beyond that we didn't ask you today?
That during COVID, I've been writing books. So I've managed to write about 4 books. And one of,
Oh,
yes, 4.
that's
Uh,
a big deal.
I know. This one is actually now available even on Amazon. It's called Simply Plus. Basically, talking about, appearances. As you can see, I'm a plus size and stuff. But it's not only about plus size, the weight and stuff, but it's just talking about people who are not comfortable with the way they look, be it, facially, light skin, dark skin, natural hair and stuff. And then I've got another one called Riding Solo. I'm a single mom, so it's more of a single parenting book. And I'm launching one on my birthday next week, which is called Beyond Words, The Power of Feedback. This I wrote it based on my work. Like, sometimes we don't give each other feedback. So the impact of feedback when it's there and when it's not there. So, and the last one is called My Deborah, Tales of My Deborah. It's about my personal life, but it's teaching children about diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging, because I noticed in schools they are not. Yet we don't have those books of teaching kids about belonging, about inclusion. So I try to use my personal life, my story, because it's based on that, to write short stories to teach about DEI for young kids.
Thank you for sharing that. And we will include the links to what you have available in the description below in our YouTube video. And jumping on what you just said, is there any about the ways in which people can support you financially? What is the way that people can support the work that you do in China?
You see, this is where the tricky part is. Being based in China, because I'm a UN fellow, the UN has tried, but China does not allow funding from outside. So, yeah, so that's the other thing that it's been hard, because I could apply for grants and all, but based in China and running an NGO, you cannot get funding from outside. So that's been the problem, that's been the issue. But based on my work, I think I could manage to, but because all my banking whatever details are here, it's hard to get funding from outside.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Samantha, and for telling us how, we can best support you and the things that you have available. Now, we just have time for one more question, which is from the audience. Is that all right, Samantha? So, in your experience as a Zimbabwean African educator in China, how have your learnings, or how can your learnings help us to develop Africa's education?
Yeah, I think we still have a long way to go. I'm actually a head of school in an international school, and there's a huge gap. There is a huge gap. And I think we really have to, I don't know how to put it, but I think our education system, to be honest with you, in as much as it is good, we think it is good, but we're still behind, especially technology wise, and on what our children can achieve. Because the type of education that we're still giving our students, it's more like the traditional type, it's not inquiry based. Our kids, their minds are like, when I grow up, I want to be like this. They don't think outside the box. And if they can't find what we train our students to work, to be employed. We don't training our kids to be able to do something. So I think we should change. It's actually building a school back home. That's the other thing. Building a high school back home, basically that will mainly focus on sciences, because being here, like I said, I've noticed when Africans are being invited, it's like, when you're in a conference, Africans are dancers. And then the science, the whatever is coming from other countries. And we just are called into dance. And this has been hurting me so much being in China to say, I want to go back home and I want to teach sciences because I've noticed that our children think sciences are difficult and they would rather dance. You know, I'm from Southern Africa with my piano and all. Everyone is dancing, and they're not trying hard to even attempt math. I was in my district where I went back home in July, and I was talking to the Minister of Education, and they were telling me that because initially I wanted to start at high school only, and then they were saying if you start high school, you'll not get the kids because the kids don't even have math, so you have to bring them up. So I started to realize that they even shy away. They start to say they don't want to do math. They just focus on either business or they're not doing science subjects. So I'm actually building a school back home. This is where I need support. This is where I need support. This one is where I need support. So you see, Jonathan, you can have your classroom that will call Jonathan's classroom and Emo's classroom, and then
Thank you so much for this. Like, look, what you said, aside the fact that you're impacting, you're also creating legacies, especially when you talk about the school that you're setting up. I mean, these are legacies that will live even beyond you. So this is really, really amazing to hear. So Samantha, I just want to thank you for blessing us with your conversation. And we want to congratulate you as you're now an official inductee into the MyPad VIP suite.
yay! I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me, guys. And hey, you know what?
Yes.
The nice thing is, I've always been the first for Asia for everything.
Mm,
When we talk of
lovely,
Africans
lovely.
in Asia, it's always the first, the first, the first. So I like that. The
Awesome,
other ones
awesome.
will follow.
You're a pace setter. You're a pace
Yeah.
setter. That's awesome. And to all our lovely listeners out there, this has been Emor and Jonathan. Make sure you subscribe and follow us and tune into our next episode of the Voices of Influential People, because you never know who our next VIP will be. Thank you. Thank you so much.